2. George grabbed my arm. There's nothing to be frightened of. Just watch the descent. It's always muddy. Hold on to the rope. Well, that really didn't help. However, I decided to be a brave artist and forced to smile. She was right, though, as I lost my footings and slipped on the slimy path. My clean trousers were splattered in a yellow mud, and my shoes were now all squidgy. It's the new look, I decided, as we descended into the valley. The overgrowth cut out the light and it turned much cooler. The towering bamboos knocked against each other, making a hollow drum beat, and the image would have made for a great abstract painting. However, clinging to the rope made it impossible to sketch. Dedicated as I was to en plein air, this was not the time. We eventually arrived at the base of the valley, and lo and behold, there in front of my eyes was a cave with overhanging creepers and such. Perfect Hollywood-style stage set, except it was real. The cave had a large entrance. I thought it was going to be much easier than the 2 nights worrying I had unnecessarily undertaken. We entered and looked around. It was huge inside, and I felt more at ease. Reginald shouted onwards, and we followed him. And then the cave dramatically reduced in size, and I found myself somewhat stooped. My head had already touched the ceiling. Reginald stopped. "Okay, everyone, the bats are through here. Take it slowly and try not to disturb them." We were faced with a much smaller hole. I was not impressed. I felt as if it wouldn't get through. "George, I won't fit through that hole." I tried to sound calm. "Get on your knees and follow me," she said. "You'll be okay." Well, at least there'd be something interesting to look at on my journey through hell. I slowly wiggled through, and the ground felt warm and somewhat smelly, and a strong pungent aroma, worse than an overmature stinking bishop cheese. My trousers were now an abstract painting on their own. George had stood up, and I managed to do the same. Whew, we made it. We were in a chamber with the ground covered in bat guano. I looked up, and there were hundreds of creatures hanging from the upper parts of the chamber. A real bat cave with no Batman in sight. "Glad you made it then?" George reassuringly asked. Think I'll consider the options." I suddenly coughed, and the place exploded in movement. We were bombarded with wings, and I felt the air move a millimetre from my face. Within a minute, nearly all the bats had left the chamber, apart from the odd one that flitted around as a rear guard. The colony seemed to vanish through the other exit, and then nothing. The place went quiet. "So what do you think of these creatures, eh?" "The Fledermaus, Herr Strauss was an excellent composer, agree?" Reginald was in his element. I gathered my wits, but didn't want to engage in the merits of Johann Strauss's operetta. "Oh, very interesting. Can we go now?" I had enough of being underground. My patience had ended. What is amazing, you see, is that we are more or less on the surface and not below ground. "Worry not, Herr Englander. Lunch is beckoning for us." Reginald smiled as if he'd won a game of chess. The entrance out of the chamber was much larger, thankfully, and as we resurfaced with the lights blinding us for a while, "Is everyone here? Yeah?" Reginald fussed around. "This way for a lunch surprise." As we walked around the corner, there was a feast set out on 2 long tables. Somehow, the driver had found a much easier way to arrive and set everything up. "Ach, you deserve a drink after all. You must admit it was most interesting, nein?" "I will let you know after the first drink has settled," I said. I replied, most thankful for being outside again. The end of the chapter. Brush with Paradise by me, Lee Benson. To be continued.